Well, a very good morning to you from Jamnik viewpoint. It's a fabulous morning, crystal clear, not a cloud in the sky. Ordinarily that would be a problem, but for what I'm about to do this morning, I wouldn't say they're ideal conditions, but the most important thing is that there is no cloud over that mountain peak, because about half an hour after sunrise, the sun is going to come up right over the very tip of that mountain peak right behind the church. The mountain peak is called Storžič, and the mountain range here is the Jamnik Alps. So it's about 15 minutes before sunrise, but it's not the actual sunrise that I'm waiting for, as I said earlier. 30 minutes after sunrise, I want to capture the sun coming right over the very tip of that mountain there. And that is the key moment. So if there had been some cloud around, there probably would have been a bit more colour and I could still be shooting. As you saw, I did shoot a few kind of early dawn pre-sunrise golden hour shots, but also trying to decide on my composition for the moment that the sun comes up. So I think I'm going to settle for a change, and I've shot this a few times, not quite on the very tip, but I've got it on the side a little bit. And I've always positioned the church off to the left or to the right a little bit. But this time I think I'm going to put it right in the middle, because I've come to this position here where I've lined up the church and the mountain peak slap bang, right in perfect alignment. And then I want to get that sun coming right up over the very peak. So let's hope that's going to work. Now the reason I know this, and I know it's going to come up bang right on the very tip, is because of a great app called Peak Finder. Now, I've told you about this app in previous videos, but I'll explain it again if this is the first time watching this video. Peak Finder is an app which, if you point it in the direction of a set of mountains, for example, it will give you all of those mountains, the names of the peaks and everything. But what is really great about Peak Finder is what it also does is it tells you if the sun is going to rise or set over one of those mountain peaks or mountain tops. It tells you the exact spot and the exact time that it comes up. Same with the moon, and also whether it's rising or setting. Now we're looking east, so obviously I know it's going to rise. Yeah, and now the only thing about this app is that you need to be on location in the position where you want to shoot, pointing the app to the area, and then you can scroll through dates and times to find the time that it will be in perfect alignment. And that's what I did a little while ago. I was up here shooting a panoramic video, and when I was here I plotted all of this, and I'll show you now up on the screen how that looks. So the great thing, as I say, is now because of the app I know exactly the date, 2nd of July, and the time around 5:47 is the exact time it will crest that peak. So that's absolutely marvellous, isn't it? So I've actually moved over a little bit to align the spire and the tip of that mountain peak better. When I was over there, it was not quite in alignment, and the reason I knew that is because I used the grid overlay on shutter. So now I'm here, this is the perfect spot. So I thought this would be a good opportunity also to show you how Shutter can be really useful in a situation like this. Now, if you're not familiar with Shutter, Shutter is a great camera remote control app for iPhone, iPad, or even Apple Watch actually. And it's available for Canon, which I'm using here, also for Sony and also for Fujifilm at the moment. Now, if you haven't watched any of my previous videos on Shutter, go check it out. There's a video where I give a full overview of all the features. But in these videos, I want to show you situations where Shutter and its specific features are really, really useful. So kind of real-time, real situation use of the app, so to speak. Now, what I want to do here, obviously, is as that sun comes up, the contrast is going to be extremely high. Now, I've got a 3-stop hard grad on there, which is great, but I also like to exposure bracket plus or minus 1 stop, just to be on the safe side, to make sure that I really capture the maximum dynamic range and I've got plenty to work with when I process the final photo. Now, yeah, I can use this. Yeah, sure, often I do. But the great thing about Shutter is that with this, I have to press 3 times or hold it down to get my 3 shots. But with Shutter, all I need to do is press once and it will take the sequence of 3 shots. So I'll show you this now. So really, I just set the exposure bracketing. Okay, I've got 3 exposures. One exposure step is 1 stop. So that's all set perfectly. And if I want to shoot off 3 shots now, I just need to click once and it will take the 3 shots for me. Boom, they're done. Brilliant. So no messing around there. What I can also do with Shutter is it also has an intervalometer. So when that sun starts to come up over the peak, I want to shoot more than one sequence of 3, one after another. And usually I'm just click, 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 clicking. But I can use the intervalometer to let it fire away continuously. And so the way that I set that, here you can see here this is the timer and the intervalometer. You can set an initial delay for the timer if you want to, but I'm not going to turn the timer on. And the intervalometer is here, the repeat. Now you can set the repeat sequence, the time between shots, however many seconds you want, 1, 2, 3, 4. But I don't want to do that. I'm going to put it down to 0 because I want it to shoot continuously, one after another, no delay whatsoever. You can also choose the number of photos actually. What you could do is you can say I want three shots or 3 sequences. Or, as you can see there, you can leave it at infinity. And when you do that, it'll keep firing until you then click that button again to stop it. So again, for me, this is perfect. So let's show you a quick example of that. Let's turn off the initial delay. Sorry, that was a mistake. Yeah, so that's done. Now I'm going to go that's shot 3. Now it's going to shoot another 3. And it will keep on going until I click that button. Now I've clicked that button, it stopped. So I can do that as the sun starts coming up over that mountain peak. Now the other good thing I like about Shutter is that I can also use the grid view. Now I like to use the grids to align things. In this case, it's perfect for aligning the church and that mountain peak. Now I can turn on the grids here, but it's a lot of mucking around trying to go through the menu to get it set and then turn it off again. So what I like about Shutter is that I can turn on this grid view and I can have multiple. I can have a simple 2x2 in this case. That's perfect. But now we can see on the grid that I've got the church and everything perfectly lined up. If I want to look at any other grids, if I want to do the rule of thirds, there's a 3x3 and there's a 6x4, which again gives me that center line, and there's the diagonal view as well. So the 2x2 shows me that I got everything lined up perfectly. Brilliant. I can also change aspect ratios if I want to view how it would look in different aspect ratios, but I don't want to do that. I've got it set to full and I'm ready to go. So, and the great thing about it is that, see, I can, as I said, now I don't need it, I can turn it off. Yeah? I've got everything set, got everything the way that I want. I can turn it off, and I can also here adjust my initial exposure compensation, my medium exposure, so to speak. I can adjust my aperture if I want to. F11, now I'm going to put it on F16 because when that sun comes up I want to get the sun star over the mountain peak, hopefully. I can also adjust the ISO if I want. I'm going to keep that at 200, and when I click the shutter it shows me the shutter speed would be 1/8 of a second in this case, but as that sun gets higher it's going to get faster. I've also got the histogram down in the corner, so I've got everything I need. It's absolutely brilliant. I love it. I love it. So now I just need to wait. In about 20 minutes, I think, the sun is going to come right up over that peak, and we're going to use shutter to capture that moment. While I've got time to kill, I'm going to play around. I think I'm going to, the great thing is I can put the phone down there actually while I'm working, and I'm going to just pull back a touch here, give myself more room in the sky. Now I'm starting to get some colour. Oh, this is nice. So I'm going to come around here, starting to get some colour. On that right mountain peak. That is Mount Kochna. The one that's starting to glow now is Mount Kochna, and right next to it is Mount Grinzevets, which is the highest peak in the Jamnik Alps. Now I can quickly change shutter now. Sorry. To my 3x3. Brilliant. I'm going to turn the intervalometer off. I don't want that right now. I just want to do one sequence of 3 shots. Lovely. .31, so 5:47, the sun comes up over the peak, so I got another 17 minutes, but still be watchful, because some of the, getting some lovely colour over those peaks now. I can preview the images that I shoot on the phone here too. That's another useful feature, as well as, of course, of previewing them on here. Lovely. So you can see right to the left of Storžič there, you can see where it's getting really bright. That's where the sun's coming up. You're starting to see some light rays above there too. So now I'm going to pull up a bit to try to get some of those light rays coming off the peak there. Beautiful. Getting some light rays off the other side too. Look at that. Oh, it's gorgeous. Starting to see a little glimmer just to the left, but hopefully, if Peak Finder is correct, it's going to creep up the very back or the very edge, but behind there, and come up over that peak. So let's see what happens. Well, it's not actually coming up where Peak Finder said it would. That's the first time that's ever happened, but still. You can see how the intervalometer is just continuing to take shots as it comes up there. Well, I think now it's getting too bright, but let's see what it does. See if it creeps up as it rises. It creeps up the side of that mountain peak and still comes over the very tip. See how it's sitting there right on the edge. It's still not coming up because the trajectory of the sun is going to go in perfect alignment with the mountain peak too. So there's still a chance that it's going to creep up and sit at the very peak. Now I'm taking my exposure down to -2, the initial exposure. Turn the intervalometer off for the moment. Take a string of shots. Now the sun's too bright. Getting a lot of lens flare in front of the church now. So let's see what it does. See how I'm using shutter to very easily and quickly change my settings. It's still sitting there, isn't it? Beautiful. Try now to move my composition around a bit. To try to move that lens flare in to somewhere where it would be easily cloned out. Let's try a different composition now. Well, there we have it, well and truly above the peak now. So it didn't actually come up where Peak Finder said. It came up just to the left, probably means that either tomorrow or the next day it might come up over the peak. But still, it's quite a moment, wasn't it? Well, it didn't quite go exactly to plan, but still, it was quite a moment, wasn't it? And it came up on the side of that mountain and crept up the side there. Absolutely spectacular. Now, I look back, I took the chance, now I'll show you up on the screen now. I set up Peak Finder again and had another look at it and then plotted for the next few days. And now it's quite clear that you see that the third and the fourth, it still kind of shows a bit on the side of the mountain as it's coming up. And on the 5th of July is the day where it's completely hidden behind the mountain as it rises, and then it comes up just off to the right of the very tip itself. So you can see that now on the video I'll show you on the Peak Finder video. So it's really great, Peak Finder, how you can accurately, when you're on location, really use the date and the time to really plot the movement of the sun and also the moon too, and really try to predict. Now obviously I didn't look at that clearly enough, and I thought today would be the day, and it did actually come up over that peak, but it came out the side too soon and then it was too bright, unfortunately. And it's one of those days where you wish there would be more haze on the horizon, maybe a bit of light cloud even to dampen the intensity of the sun. And the sun was very bright and I got a lot of lens flare, but let's see if I can do something about the lens flare in Photoshop, and I'll put the best shot up here now. So I thought I'd pop into Adobe Photoshop quickly and show you the technique I use for dealing with lens flare. Now obviously when you're shooting a scene like this, you're looking straight on to your subject. My church, my mountain is centralized and the sun is coming up right in the middle, and there's simply no way to avoid lens flare once that sun gets so strong. I mean, the lack of cloud or haze or anything to diffuse the sun meant that the sun itself was really, really strong, and there's just no way to avoid the lens flare. And that is where the intervalometer comes in really handy, and that is where taking a sequence of shots that starts before the sun comes up and continues to shoot as the sun comes up and gets higher and higher really works well, because you can see in this image it's riddled with lens flare. There's lens flare all across the church and everything. Okay, sure, if you're a whiz with the cloning tool, you might be able to get rid of it. I'm not, and I certainly don't have the time or the patience to do it. But what I'm about to show you is a much faster way of doing it. So if we come up here, so I've put already into the a folder here a selection of images. So this image here was taken just as the sun peaked over, and if you can see already in the foreground that there's not any lens flare. If we come to the shadows, we can also brighten up the shadows nicely, look, and you can see that there's actually no lens flare there. So this is the perfect image to use, and I would even go so far as to perhaps tweak those shadows to bring that out a bit. You can see that I'm pulling up the shadow detail. When the radius is low, you see you get a lot of halos around here. So when you're pulling out the shadows in a scene, you want to increase the radius to get rid of those halos. So there you go, it's before and after. So I've even got one here that I've brightened up. So I'll probably save that as a secondary image as well, just in case. So I've got this one. So I'm going to use the foreground of this shot, and I'm going to blend it with one of the shots later on. Now, so this was one of the shots later on where the sun was much higher, it had moved up a bit, and it was really coming over that mountain beautifully. Now this was one of the brighter images, so just to show you all that lens flare. But the one that I took after that, so that was image 96, image 97, which was then underexposed, was perfectly captured the sun over the mountain peak, and of course it's completely dark down here. And don't be fooled into thinking that you can brighten this up and everything will be fine, because the lens flare is still there. It's just hidden. So if you pull out the shadows, all the lens flare is still there. So we can't do that, but we can use the top half of this image. And the one way, there's several ways to do this, but the reason I saved this now is I'm going to show you how I'm going to use this one and this one together. So what I'll do is I'll come to File, Scripts, Load Files onto Stack, and I'll browse to my folder here. So I'll take this one that I've brightened up, and I'll take this one, and I'm going to use these two images. That's there we go. Okay, so I've pulled those two in. Now I can tick this box to attempt to automatically align the source images, but I know that I didn't move my composition. This was shot using the intervalometer one after another, and I feel pretty sure that these two images will line up on their own, so I don't need to check that. But if you're not sure, you can do that, and I'll show you in a minute how we use that. So there you go. Now here you can see that I've got my image now untitled, and I've got my two layers here, one on top of another. I'm going to pull the darker layer up to the top, so I want that one on the top, and then simply come to Layer, Layer Mask, and Reveal All. So we put a white layer mask across the top, and we're going to reveal the layer underneath. And the way to do that is you can use the brush tool, but for an image like this, the best one is to come over here to the gradient tool and pull up a nice soft gradient to reveal the layer underneath. Look at that. Perfect. Perfect, isn't it? See? No lens flare at all, but we've still got that nicely underexposed sky there. So you can play around with this, you can make it softer. So if we pull it up too far, we see we've got the lines there, so that's no good. So we want to kind of bring it up to about there. You can make it a softer or a lighter, a shorter transition. Okay, so there we go. That's about right, I think. I'm not going to perfect it now, I just want to show you as an example. So once you've done that, you can then flatten the image, and there we've got our image. Now you can come in, see, oh, there's a teeny tiny bit of lens flare there, not a problem, easily got rid of with the healing brush tool. I think there may even be a teeny tiny bit on here. Again, we can take our healing brush tool. You can use either the proximity match or content aware. Usually try the content aware first. Sometimes it does a good job, sometimes it doesn't. Let's try that. That's done a good enough job, that's perfect. So there we have our image, and now we can go ahead and continue to edit that image if you want. I can pull back, sorry, not the shadows, so we can then continue to darken that a bit more. There we go. Again, I won't do it too much, I just want to show you as an example. I've still got a bit of lens flare here. Again, I can come back and use my healing brush tool. Let's try the content aware first. Or we can try the proximity match for this, which is probably going to work better. There we go. Undo that. No. Try then the content aware. And if all else fails, let's come our clone stamp tool, and which gives us a bit more control, where I can hold down the Alt key, select the area I want to clone from. There. There we go. Okay, again, I'm not going to perfect it, just an example. And there already we've got our image, and we can continue to work on that, edit that, bring out those shadows again a bit more. in the foreground there, so lighten up that foreground a bit more, deal with our highlights and generally play around. But there we go, we just instantly got rid of that lens flare. So here was the shot with the sun right on the peak itself. Same problem as, again, you can see massive lens flare. But the other problem here was, if you remember in the video, I started to recompose my shot in an attempt to maybe move that lens flare around. Maybe a bit of a mistake at the time, but still, I did that. So if I want to do the same thing, again, nothing now beyond once that sun came up is going to be free of lens flare. So again, we go back to that image here that I used. But you'll see that in this case, the images are not in alignment because I moved. That's where we can use that align sources tool. So let's again come into scripts, load files onto stack, and then this time I'm going to pick this one, and I'm going to pick this one, and I'm going to open them in, and this time I'm going to tick this button. Now you'll see Photoshop's AI or whatever it is works its magic to align these two images, and it does a really good job, I must say. And look at that. If we pull that one on top, if we now pull down the opacity, here is where you can see how everything has been perfectly lined up by Photoshop. Absolutely marvelous. So let's pull that up. Now obviously all of this is moved around, and we're going to have to crop the image. There we go. Then we're going to have to crop into the image, aren't we? So we can come up to the, I like this crop tool here. Let's pull in here like this. Let's line that bit up nicely. There we go. And now we can just come into the general tool here and crop in here. Okay. There we go. Now already you can see all of the lens flare here, can't you? So same thing again. We put that one on top, and we're going to come to layer, reveal all, and don't worry about this too much. There we go. Now we're revealing that layer again underneath. Nicely done. Now this one's a trickiest one, so we're going to have to probably play around with it a bit to get it right, but still you can see how everything has been nicely lined up. We can crop that again, and again we can come in. Now you might want to, this is actually, I think because I moved it around, it's not quite straight, so we could actually straighten this a bit too. Let's rotate it 0.5 counterclockwise, maybe a bit more. Okay, straighten it up, maybe a touch more. Oh, that's not quite, so let's undo that. That looks about right for now. Again, might need some tweaking, but don't worry about that. So now again I can come in, now I can crop here to get rid of all that area here. Oh, there we go. Yeah. And I would probably go even further here to make this more centralized, but you get the general idea. So again, if I'm happy with that, I can come and flatten my image. Then I can come in and deal with this little bit of lens flare here. using the healing brush tool. Perfect. I've got nothing over my church, so when it's on a background like that, it's really easy to get rid of. And then again, I can come in and I can maybe use my crop tool and think about centralizing that now. There, I've got a nice centered church the way that I wanted it. That'll do. That's nice. Again, touch up here. So again, I can use my I can try the healing brush first. That doesn't work. Come to the clone tool. Deal with that. That's easily done. Fill that foreground a bit. A bit too much. Play around with that, you can see. So you get the general idea. See, now I've got the sun in perfect alignment right in the middle. I got rid of all that lens flare. Brilliant. So you can see also here how shutter was so useful in a situation like this. I was able to compose easily using the grids, turning them on and off at will. I used the exposure bracketing to bracket my exposures to get 3 exposures to really maximize the dynamic range of that very, very high contrast scene. I used the intervalometer when I wanted to just keep shooting a sequence of bracketed exposures when the sun come up itself, so I didn't have to keep on tapping the screen. I was able to very quickly adjust my exposure compensation and anything else. Everything is right there at my fingertips, and that's what I really love about shutter. If you're interested in shutter, I'll put a link down in the description, 3 links actually to the 3 different camera models, the Canon, the Sony and the Fujifilm. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.